This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Summit, 2 days that would change your life forever. For tickets, go to thewellnesssummit.com. TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And I'm uber excited because guess what? Today's all about the dollars, the moolah. Yeah, baby. Yeah, doing a funky bum dance. We've spoken about how you can take what you know and put it into a book. And it inspired us for this next podcast because when we all three of us look at each other, we kind of, we're all really, really flat out. So getting together to do the podcast is actually getting more and more challenging every week. But when we actually look at why, it's because this podcast process and what we do in our businesses is really creating enormous leverage and huge momentum for us, I guess, with our message. And we figure, chances are, you, our listeners, have your own message. You have your own ideas. You have your own thoughts about how you want the world to be a better place. So we thought today we would talk to you guys about how you can make the funky moolah out of your message. What do we do? And we thought that maybe we'd be able to give you guys a few pointers and where you can start and if you're experienced, what works, what doesn't work, and how you can turn your message into millions.
No, I think it's a good idea because there's a lot of mums at home.
Yeah.
And that's where I started. I was a mum at home and I had a 6-year university degree and I just went, what can I do with my brain but not have to go out to work?
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
It's the flexibility, isn't it?
It is. It was the flexibility and what is it I can do? And so, mine was I made $40 a week writing for the local paper.
But how cute. It was your money.
It was my money.
It was what you did.
Yeah,
and I think it's really a beautiful thing for mums to actually get that feeling back when they feel like all they're doing is being a milk truck.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is a bit like that, Karen, just in case. Yeah, I was 6 years milk truck. Definitely. Non-stop, it felt like.
Oh, how uncivilized.
I love their face.
I know. Look at her face.
Oh, I can't even begin to imagine. Actually, totally off topic, but last night when the alarm went off so that I could come and catch up with you guys, I was dreaming that I was pregnant and I was on a swing.
Oh.
I was in a deep, deep sleep. No, but I had no idea there was a milk truck involved. I mean, the moment in my dream was quite sweet, but...
Honey, you got them hanging off you every moment.
Okay, let's move on.
We were going to talk about money.
Yeah, we're talking about money. Now we're talking about milk trucks. Goodness. But no, I think it's cool because, as you say, there are people and mums out there who don't know that they can be more or have this amazing idea or these amazing beliefs or experiences about... And actually, a lot of people who come through my programs are mums who want to do stuff for kids. Or they want to create something for their children or for the schools, the education systems, because they see flaws and they know that they know better. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Milk trucks aside.
And they could be also people who are in a job they don't like. And
true that.
And they want to get out of the job that they're in. Like
true that.
Somebody I was speaking to recently, she was in advertising and she hated it. And it was so interesting because she wanted to write a book. She was a blogger and she wanted to write a book. And what was interesting is that I went, well, if you're in advertising and marketing, that's going to be your core business when you write that book. And I think, people don't realise that it's all very well and good to have a message and to want to say it and speak it. And you teach that, Karen, so beautifully and people can learn to write. But it's then you have to market yourself because you can be the best at what you do. But if you sit in your lounge room waiting, nothing's going to happen. And so I think what this should be about is that all the ways that we have, because I'm not an expert in marketing. All I know is that I wanted to sell something and I need to figure out where is my target market, Who are they? Where do I go to find them? But I knew none of this stuff. Like, I feel like when I started, I knew nothing.
You're so naive when you start out,
You
aren't you?
are.
And you're open to everything and anything, and you try things. And I think sometimes trial and error is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's experience. It's the best thing.
And I think
Yeah.
but one of the things I've learned is watching people you admire and seeing what they do. There is absolutely nothing wrong or nothing better than to actually look at someone that you really look up to and see what they're doing and how they're doing it. Cyndi, how then did you actually learn what it is that you needed to do? Like, do you reckon you learned it overnight, or was it a process, or were there certain people involved, or how did you get really strategic?
Oh, I think it was a process. And so when I self-published my book, I knew that if I got on television, I knew because that was the biggest medium of people watching, and my target market was watching. And all I could get on was radio and newspapers and magazines, and I was just doing it in the southeast Queensland area. I wasn't trying to expand out. I was just trying to do as much. So I started with looking at my local papers and saying, oh, I'm I used to be a columnist for the Sunshine Coast Daily, and, so I would do all of that. I would ring them up. I would write the letters, do everything. But I knew that the minute that I got on television, that it was going to be a big thing. So I continued to asking Brisbane Extra, which was the local magazine show that showed, I think, about 5 or 5:30 at night. And I knew if I got on that it would be a great start. And it took me about 18 months of keeping bugging them. I just kept bugging them.
Yeah.
And you just keep annoying them until one day you get somebody different that's interested in your story.
Yeah.
Because often there'll be one person who is the editor or the finder of the story or whatever, who's not even interested in your story. But one day they won't be at the desk anymore. Somebody else will be that will be interested. So just because you get knocked back once doesn't mean that station won't take you or that program won't take you. You just got to wait for them to get off and you get somebody else
and
in.
also for every no, you're getting closer to a yes. You have to expect no's in doing what we all do. There is always going to be no's.
Yeah.
And I just figured that there's enough out there for everybody. It's not a case of you taking someone else's pie or someone else's... if people have a real competitive mindset around this, I think they end up coming in with the wrong attitude. I believe making the pie bigger. So, Fleur and I were amazing back in New Zealand. We desperately wanted a television show. We knew if we got on TV, because if you're a celebrity, you're already way ahead of the game.
You're way ahead of the game.
So we kept trying and trying. We hassled TVNZ for months, over a year. Their number one television station. Finally, the marketing director called us in to say we had a TV show, and we'd got it. And it was going to be called Like Chocolate for Women, and we were given a 12-week show. It was a $200,000 sponsorship,
Wow.
massive. Yeah, except the time slot was at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, but they figured if we could work that was the only time, you're better off to take that than nothing.
Absolutely.
So we got it, and we sat there in the office beside ourselves, and then we went, who's the sponsor? And they went, L'Oreal. And we went, that's not going to work for us. And she sat there and she goes, you are kidding me. And we went, and she told us to go away and think about it. And we sat there, honestly, for 24 hours. And we said no. Because we knew that what we wanted to say would be totally against what we would be allowed to say. That's the only bummer about national television is, if you get interviewed, it's okay if you've got a personal story, you're interviewed on a show, but if it's an actual show, even then they can edit you out and they can change what you've said. So,
and I think you brought up a really good point, Kim, because are you going to sell your soul to get your book out there, or your information or your product or whatever it is that you've got? Are you going to sell your soul? And I see a lot of people doing that. And, they start idealistically, but they're not making money. And so they get a sponsor like L'Oreal, but their product is 28. And they sell their soul because they got to live. And I think it can be really hard. And I see sportsmen doing it without really knowing what they're doing. They're trying to market themselves because they know once their sports career is over, they're done, and they've got to have major sponsors such as breakfast cereals or
Or they're actually tied into, it doesn't matter what they believe in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because those sponsors are involved in the major corporation, the corporation dictates when you're employed under contract to do what you have to do with them, and they don't often get a choice, which is really tough, I would imagine.
Well, I remember a very famous, I don't think I'll say a name, but I remember a very famous swimmer who was being sponsored by Uncle Toby's. And Uncle Toby's had her for a long time. And she used to advertise their breakfast cereals and whatever Uncle Toby's did.
Bars.
Yeah, muesli bars, things like that. And then one day she was on a television show and she was talking about margarine. And she said, oh, I would never touch margarine. I only eat butter. And that within half an hour of her coming off that, Uncle Toby's rings up and said, you can't say that because under the umbrella of Uncle Toby's is, I think it was Meadow Lee, I can't remember, one of the margarines. So, you can't say that. So that was fine, Then the next time she went on, she was talking about chicken, and she talked about organic chicken. And I would only eat organic chicken, stuff like that. And Uncle Toby's rings her half an hour later and says, Ingham Chicken is under our umbrella too. You can't say that. So she could hardly wait in the end to be released because she wasn't able to say what she wanted to say. But it was lucrative. It was very lucrative to be in that sponsorship. So I think when you first start out and you start marketing yourself, don't prostitute yourself.
I think that's such a good point. It's such an important point because as much as sometimes it can create opportunity, it creates such incongruence inside of you, but then also the marketplace actually knows.
Yeah.
The marketplace knows. So the very thing that you're setting out to create lands up biting on the bum. I'm really fortunate I've never been in that situation, but I've seen people who have. And it's sad because their intentions are the most honourable, but they just get caught up with an incongruent direction or an incongruent contract or an incongruent sponsor.
Yeah.
It's tough though, isn't it, when you're out there slogging your guts out, you're working your butt off, and then finally you get a contract or a sponsorship or something that's going to relieve you of huge financial burden. And I reckon some people must just sit there some days and think, stuff it. It must be so exhausting that you get to that point where,
Well, let's. In terms of what we want to talk to our audience about this morning, most of our people will probably be getting started, like just starting to get their message out there. Hey, like starting to get some kind of profile.
Yeah.
So what are the kind of places that, because our listeners are all like us, so we just go with that.
Yeah.
So what are the sorts of places that they can go to, or what are the sorts of things that they can do? Where can they look to start to grow their message or get known for their message that are congruent with them?
I think sometimes if you love a magazine or you love an online site or something like that, then one of the greatest things you can do is start sending in articles or saying, this is what I do. I've written this article. Would you like to use it? I'd be really happy to contribute. This is what my beliefs are. I'm so in line with what your values are.
Yeah.
It would be my greatest wish. I'm blogging these already, or I'm doing this already, but what can I do? And I think sometimes you'd be amazed at how many people want content, especially in the e-world, e-marketing world, because content is constantly being updated and evolved. And I know if someone said to me, Kim, I'd love to write you a couple of blogs on natural skincare, I'd be going, happy days, because I'm constantly coming up with content, and I'm constantly, or mums at home, what to do with young babies. If people started sending me, and I've had this happen before, where someone sent me an article on home care products that are chemical free, and I went back to her and I said, can I use that in a blog? I'll reference you and all of that, but I know my readers would love to hear this. And now she contributes.
Oh, that's
monthly.
awesome.
So I think if you believe in a site, I mean, I don't know if Cyndi would be able to do the same thing, but I certainly know that from your Healthy Living Club and things like that, some of your club members write the most amazing posts, let alone even a blog. But they write a post in the Healthy Living Club that I go, wow, that was phenomenal. And I'll take a paragraph of it and I'll actually quote their name if I re-quote it in one of my, if I believe it's something of value. So I think that would be a really good starting point, is if you believe in something, start asking those around you that you could get involved with. Or I guess for you too, Karen, people want to be on the support team. I know wherever we all speak, people often will ask if they can be on the support team. That's a great way to involve yourself around people that you look up to and admire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that you may learn some stuff from. Yeah. One of the things that we were just talking about with regards to keeping your message clear and not going to places that your message won't be clear. So back in the days when I was doing my own marketing and everything was done myself, I had a lot of control. These days, I actually have a marketing company that works for me.
Are they good?
They're very good. Very, very good. Because I notice the more my name's out there, the better it is. And it's, we write for like UltraFit. I write for UltraFit because of them. I'm in a lot of online magazines. I'm in, 9MSN, or MSN, whatever it's called. They always ask me for comment, things like that. And I've been asked a couple of times to write a comment for a blog site that I disagree with entirely. And I keep saying to the girl, I don't want to do, I will have nothing to do with that site. And she would say, it's got such a huge audience, Cyndi. It's, you could give them another perspective of what you're doing. Like, the girls are mouthing which site it is. Just say it. It's, it's Mamma Mia. I disagree with, I find them a vicious group of people. Not all of them, but if you make a comment against their values, they become very vicious. I've seen it happen over and over and over again.
Awful.
And I just feel good on her for creating such an amazing following. But I don't want to be involved in where you can't say your side of a story without being absolutely verbally abused, attacked, and everything. Yeah. And someone that we have interviewed recently had that exact thing happen to her. And in the end, I think they pulled her article. And they pulled it because it wasn't in alignment with their value system. And okay, I get that. But that, I think we really have to be careful now and in this day and age, because everything is online and everything is there to stay. And I know I did an interview one time that I should not have done. And whenever I see it come up, I cringe, absolutely cringe, because I wasn't prepared for the interview. I didn't have the facts. I didn't have the information, and it's the only thing in the media that I've thought I wish I didn't do. I wish I'd never said that. I wish I had nothing to do with that comment. And it was,
honey,
yeah.
Count yourself lucky. Look how many sports people, politicians and people like that wish they could have raised many comments and actions.
I know. I feel for them. Because when you do something that, it's like, I was listening yesterday to this very awkward interview, and this guy was being interviewed about taking money in a campaign, and you could tell he couldn't lie, but he just didn't know what to say. And I just think we have to be really careful.
I think that's a really important point, because once you do an interview with a magazine or a radio station or any of the media, they then own it. So you can't say I don't want that included or I do want that included, because once they've done that interview, they own that material. I did an interview with a magazine, and I was really disappointed with the way that they'd written the article that they did on my story, because I was very concerned for Greg's family and for Jodie's family with the way that they'd written it. It was incredibly emotive. And of course they were doing that to try and sell copies of their own magazine. But when it comes at the cost of somebody's peace of mind, I felt that was, for me, that was highly incongruent. And I actually sought legal advice through media lawyers to see if I couldn't have them silenced on the article. and I had nowhere to go. I had no leg to stand on. So I think that that's really important, and like you say, it's out there because now everything's online, and it's eternal. So I think that's a really, really important point for our listeners, that when you do start getting noticed or start building a profile for yourself or start finding yourself on in newspapers or with articles or, all of that, one, make sure that you're well prepared. Two, make sure that you're giving your information to organisations and platforms that are congruent with you. And three, be prepared for feedback.
And backlash.
Yeah. And if particularly if what you're talking about is controversial, like you, Cyndi, be prepared for that, not disappointed by it. Be prepared for that and see it as engagement. And then when I say be prepared that it's going to happen, but be prepared to respond. Because you also can't leave that stuff out there, especially with social media. If I post something about depression and somebody comes back and slams me about that, I must be prepared with my response, but I must respond. You can't leave that lying out there, because one, it's unresolved for the person who's responded, but also everything's out there forever. And if you're looking to position yourself as somebody who has something to share in that environment, then you need to be engaged in the conversation. Other than being abusive or completely out of line. I'm not talking about
What's both your thoughts then for our listeners looking at getting their message out there? What would you say? Do you both agree with a PR company? Like, what's your thoughts around a PR company?
Well, when you first start, you can't afford a PR company.
They're very expensive.
They're very expensive, and so you have to do it yourself. I think what you can do is that you can go online and do online courses to teach you these things. Like, where do I get my database for all the media in Australia? So I never had ever heard of that there was such a thing out there. And there is actually a database out there and it comes up every 6 months. I think it's...
for renewal, because it gets updated,
It gets updated every 6 months. Margaret G was the one I used. I don't know if she's still around, but there's a couple of them around now, and they're online. It used to be a book.
Yes.
It used to be this thick book.
I've got a copy.
You got the Margaret G. Yeah. I still got mine from the 1990s. Nobody's still in there.
I was going to say, chances are they've resigned.
They've changed, because what's happening is not only is the presenter changing, but the producer's changing. The head of station's changing. The station has changed.
But the contact details would still be there, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but they're different people, because especially emails now.
Yeah. But I've found that though, and that's okay too, because at least you've got a contact. If you email and they go, you're in the wrong department, this is where you need to go, then that's not, or even ring.
Ring
and ask who the person is in charge of this station.
And you could probably go to a library and get a Margaret G. But there's a whole database out there of it. It is no good you being somebody in the business world and trying to spruik your stuff to the health world. Yes, they want it occasionally, but I think you need to, when you first start, because it's so huge, it's so expansive, the media, is that you should look at your niche. And what's really good about online now is that they can actually give you the niche of the people who are interested in your topic. So you only go to them, you only give press releases to them, you only, go across to what they do.
I think part of why, when I wrote our original book, when Fleur and I were doing it, part of the names of our chapters were based on how we'd get hooks for media.
Yes.
So
good idea.
Yeah, so we had like The Working Woman is one of our chapters. Mothers and Children was another chapter. The Art of Pregnancy. So we knew that any magazine, and then one of them, I did a whole thing on running, so I knew that a running magazine would hook into that. So, and the physical exercise. So we actually had hooks. Our whole book had a hook in the whole genre of what a female does in a day. So I think that's another thing to think about when you're writing your stuff, is what is that hook? And I did a course over in America last year that gave me 50 leading headlines on how to write a headline. And you just change the words to suit you, for what it is. And those sorts of things are so powerful and helpful.
They're gems.
So brilliant. So you could spend money doing a course, and if you learn one thing out of it like that, I reckon it's worth every penny.
It's about becoming educated. Like I just remember it was trial and error, but I had watched what other people were doing, and I went, well, they did that. I can do that. So I think it's about trial and error. I think controversy is really good too, as long as you're prepared for it. I just want to talk to you about something that I wanted to do on Mother's Day, but I actually decided against writing it. So you have to be prepared for the backlash, and I wasn't sure what the backlash would be. And I'm going to say it on here because I'm interested to hear what you girls think.
Okay, go. This is exciting.
So Mother's Day, I
We
believe...
lean in.
Really in, because I had such a... what's the word? Just...
Thanks.
Emotion around this. I'm pissed off.
Oh, here we go.
Really pissed off that Mother's Day has been hijacked by breast cancer. Really pissed off. And I didn't want to put it on my Facebook page because I probably would have got poomped.
Yeah.
You know, the last time I said, why would you take your breasts off if you've got BRCA gene? Wouldn't you change your lifestyle before you took your breasts off? Last time I said that, it was just, I went, oh my gosh, I thought that was a normal thing to think.
Yeah.
So I think it's normal to think, why has breast cancer hijacked Mother's Day?
Has it?
Yes.
On everything.
On
Is it?
everything. It's, you know, you have to get up and go for this walk, make money for breast cancer. Like, I know there are, I know that I think differently, but I'm furious and I just think it's wrong. I think it's really wrong that Mother's Day has been hijacked by breast cancer.
Well, because there's a whole school of
Do
thought.
you think?
Well, I'm with you.
I just wondered.
But
You are with
because
me.
Yeah, well, because of your views around, I've learnt this through you, around what the breast cancer thing is all about and the money. I just don't support anything like that, just because Cyndi said. But more importantly, I don't agree with, because of now what I've learned, I don't agree with a lot of the things that they do. I would rather support a local charity. But what upsets me when I watched it yesterday. So it's leading all up into Mother's Day. You go for this run and you could raise money and all of that. Part of me...
See, I was working. I was delivering a seminar.
You were delivering a speech. Yeah.
Yeah, I was delivering a seminar, so I missed all of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that it was even news. It's just that it was on television and it was around. And I was at a dance at Stedford all day, but I knew that there was this thing on for Mother's Day. But I just thought...
And even the lead up to Mother's Day.
Everything was around
Everything
pink,
was about
wearing
pink and wearing
ribbon.
pink and doing this walk and they had breast cancer survivors on and
But I think what got my goat up was even more was that, you know, one day a year is for Mother's Day. There's enough flack out there as it is around the whole consumerism and
exactly.
and all of that anyway.
Yeah.
And what I love about a Mother's Day or a Father's Day or anything like that is I got two of the most beautiful cards from my children. There was no presents. We didn't do presents. It's not about that. But the two cards that they wrote, and Taylor made me this amazing montage of photos and everything, I just sat there and went, that's what this is all about. It's actually not about
consumerism.
Marketing. This
No, it's
breast
about
cancer thing, see, that to me is a form of consumerism.
Yes.
Using the Mother's Day. So now they're like, you're right, hijacking is a good word. They've actually turned what was just about celebrating your mum or being a mum into now raising money for something. Now they've got Pinktober, they've got so many things throughout the year that's all around breast awareness. Just let mothers have Mother's Day. And not every mother out there is affected by breast cancer. And it's scary. I think it gets scarier. Even Taylor said to me, God, Mum, how many people have got breast cancer? Like, are we starting to breed fear into everybody with all this awareness? I don't know. I kind of felt a bit, I didn't feel as wild as you, but a kind of part of me went, I would never run.
Wild. And every photo on Facebook, when I went through it, someone was wearing pink. And I went, I think what happens is the marketing. Here we go again. The marketing is so good around it. Everybody gets wound up in it. And they don't think for themselves. They don't think what this was all about. And you know, I hope, and I think I would like to say that I think it's really important to market ethically as well. If you are going to market ethically. Don't...
But Cyndi, can I interrupt you?
Yes, go for it.
Everybody that works within the Breast Cancer Foundation, perhaps, or people that are affected by it, maybe they're seeing this in a way that we're not seeing it from a marketing perspective, but more of a community perspective of supporting one another, and maybe their whole view on it is actually noble, and it's not...
I'm sure it is, and that's not where the problem is. It's what's happening at top echelon.
So it's almost
They're
like
the ones that are driving it. It's not the mums going for their walk. It's not the mums, finding money to give to breast cancer. They're not it. But what's happening is that I feel like that there is some sneaky stuff happening
where they're piggybacking off the back of other community awareness programs like Mother's Day to leverage their own marketing.
I just felt it was very unethical, and I was really
Clever.
very clever. Yeah. All right, okay, if we're going to say it, it's very clever. And if we have a look at a lot of marketing out there, it is very clever, but it doesn't mean it's the truth. So if you are listening to us, be truthful with your marketing. Don't be caught up in this craziness that's out there at the moment.
Okay, well, let me ask you both this, though. 80% of marketing, I read somewhere, is exaggerated or is not necessarily the truth, or they have hooked into something else. I mean, if you look at marketing, it's about trying to get people to pay attention. And there's that other line around marketing that bad news or bad publicity is also good publicity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are we the ones buying into that? Is it our fault? Is it, let's look at that.
Oh, gosh. Now we're going on a completely different topic, aren't we? Because we're now asking everybody to start thinking about when they actually see some marketing or something has been combined with it, or... Yeah, like now we're completely off topic of not.
But I think
marketing.
the gist of what we're about, us three, is very authentic, integral, and not taking anything away from any other companies out there that I'm sure have the same intention. But I think, but then, Cyndi, sometimes if you are nice guys, I mean, you finish second sometimes, like look at you, the way you've got publicity is through being controversial. Well, not in your eyes, but in the world's eyes you are.
Well, just because I think differently, and so I blurt something out, thinking that everybody thinks that way. and then all the comments come and I go, oh, they don't think like that. And that's why I was, that was why all Mother's Day, I wanted to put it on social media just to hear what somebody else had to say. And then I kept thinking, nobody probably thinks that. But I felt really abused by it.
I didn't actually think it like that, but I did remember thinking, my question, it wasn't that I got angry about it, but I went, why are they doing a cancer thing on Mother's Day? That was my question the other day when I saw the run coming up.
What's their justification? What are they saying? Like, it's the marketing strategy for it. What are they saying?
It was all around celebrating mothers, women getting together, community gets get out there as a community and raise money for cancer while we're at it.
And I'm probably going to be very controversial here, and you may want to delete this, but I'm just so over. I'm sorry, but everybody has diseases, everybody has problems, everybody has things happen, and the only way you can cope with these diseases is to be brave, is to get through it, and the best way you can do it. And I just feel the media is just making a real thing about breast cancer and being brave. And I don't know, I'm probably not saying what I really want to say. If I really wanted to say it, you'd probably go, Cyndi, stop that. But I just...
Give it to us. It's our podcast.
It's our podcast. Edited. I just feel that... the whole focus is on disease. The whole focus is on people who have got a disease and they've got to go through chemo and then they've survived chemo and they're survivors and they're this and they're that. And I go, why isn't the focus on the people who are looking after themselves the best they can? Now, I see, yeah, why is the focus on the ones that have got the disease and gone through the chemo and, there's no focus ever on, look at this person here. And you might be thinking I'm talking about myself, but I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking about those people that are out there that are doing the best they can with the way they heal themselves. And look, I've just been to a funeral of a girlfriend that died at 50 who got pancreatic cancer and was very quiet about her cancer, never told people about her cancer until the very end when you could tell she wasn't well. And I looked at her and I thought, you looked after yourself. You were pedantic about everything that you did. you did the right. I don't know what her diet was like, but she said she ate healthy. She exercised. She looked after who she was as a human being, and still she gets this insidious cancer. It was they don't know. It was a secondary on the pancreas, so they don't even know what the primary was. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think we focus too much on disease, and we need to start focusing on people that are doing well in their lives as far as health goes. As
Well, I'm with you, and as a completely different thing, but along the same lines, I was standing at the airport checking in my luggage. Next to me was this McMassive businessman, like McMassive, obese, morbidly obese. He was checking in. I got done $30 excess luggage. Now, I know this is going to sound really bad, but I stood there looking at him and looking at me, who was half, if not a third of his weight. And I even said to the lady behind the counter, "You can tell I'm healthy, can't you?" And she goes, "Sorry." And I went, "Do I look healthy?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I went, "Do you think that man there looks healthy?" And she goes, "Sorry?" And I went, "Does that man there look healthy?" And she goes, "No." And I went, "Yeah, you're charging me $30 for excess luggage? He's got
excess luggage.
He's the excess luggage friend." And she looked at me and she goes, "Well, that's actually a really fair point, but I'm so sorry. I have to, it's now in the system." And I went, I was so upset.
Oh, I bet.
So when you study journalism, and this is the saddest part, but when you study journalism, you actually start to understand what drives journalism and what drives the media. And there's this whole study about how journalism actually came about, and what the context of journalism is about, and what sells and what gets people in and buying magazines and reading newspapers and watching shows is freaks, fats, fears. There were another 2 or
Freaks, fats, and fears.
Yeah, there were another 2 or 3. Now I don't ascribe to this and that's why I don't watch telly and all of that anymore. But there were 2 others that when, and I'll look them up. I will look them up. But that's what sells. That's what gets people in. So when you look at the news, and you look at what's in the newspapers, if you have a look at everything that's in there, those popular high-end magazines and newspapers, it's all around those things. You look at anybody who has what society considers, and society is driven by our media. The people, when they're in their homes, they're like you, Cyndi, or they're like me, or they think, why can't we just all get along? Why can't we all just be positive? Why do we have to have war? Why do we have to fight? Like, gee, it makes me sad to see people suffering. And we all feel that in our homes, yet we're quite voyeuristic when it comes to our media. So the media just tap into that, and the media just says, okay, well, if we've got anybody who looks like a freak or behaves like a freak or does anything that's considered to be freakish in society, we'll tap into that. If anybody is like morbidly obese, or anybody's, the big fats, and you always see that there are articles, and as a reader, your heart breaks for the person. But it's compelling because you want to think to yourself, okay, well, what are they doing? How can I avoid that? How can I not do that? Fears. Man, you look at all the propaganda. There's always there's a war on drugs, a war on teenage pregnancy, a war on terrorism, a war on this and a war on that. It's all about propagating more and more fear. And it's just how journalism has been set up from the very beginning.
Do you think that's what the cancer thing was doing then?
It's
all driven on fear.
Of course.
Yeah, because all you saw was breast cancer survivors, or all you seem to see, like the whole vaccination debate at the moment is all about the whooping cough deaths.
And
what about the kids that have died because of vaccination? They're not even putting that in the media. Like, it's almost like the media is one-sided at the moment.
The media always is, because the media is always going to have that agenda of the fats, the fears, the freaks, and whatever else that I can't
That's
remember.
Brilliant.
I can't get my head on it.
Yeah.
They're always going to have that agenda, so it's always going to be around that. Have a look at the way that the media generates information around when it's time to do elections. It's never about what people, and you particularly, I see it everywhere, but you never see John Howard did this that was awesome for Australia. It's always about, Kevin Rudd ruined this, or Barack Obama's wrecked that.
I can't wait for some sex slander, some story personally.
Oh yes,
and that falls under the freak category.
So when Clinton,
and fear,
that like that's still going.
And that's going to go for the rest of their lives.
It's still going, and it was a one-nighter.
But it's always driven that way. And unfortunately, our elections become driven by media based on the direction that the media decides to take it. Even though in our own homes...
Well, hey, listen to this. Fear is the largest factor in every newsroom, including ours. And it goes this way. If we don't cover it, someone else is going to do it. When someone else does it, they're going to get the higher number. They're going to get a better rating, and they're going to get more circulation. That's the reality. The public needs to understand. There is no joy in saying this, but it's true. The fear increasingly dictates, and it's the fear that you won't survive. If you believe, as I do, that the first thing is to last, but you have to last for some reason, you have to have some purpose in lasting, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And I reckon the world would be a better place if our journalism woke up to itself.
All right, so what I'm going to put out right now to everybody who's listening, and if they are marketing, let's market with ethics.
Towards what we want, not away from what we don't want.
Yeah.
Such a powerful thing when you actually really think about what it is you want more of in your life. I was approached by someone just recently to join their business, which actually was a skincare thing as well. So the minute I saw it was a skincare thing, I knew it's not my core business. And it's a multi-level marketing business, and it's promising all this thing around the fears. It's promising all this stuff around fears around aging and wrinkles and all of this. And I looked at it, and then I looked at the ingredients, and then, bless her, she came back going, "Oh, but Kimmy, I really want to see you rich." And I thought, yeah, me too, but I don't want to make it rich on that, and that's not what. And then I had someone else approach me the other day on my thoughts on it, because she's now joined this business, and what were my thoughts? And I said to her, "Look, you have to actually have a look at what your truth is." And she said, "Well, my truth is making money." And I went, "Well, then you'll be okay in this."
Yeah. Yeah, I watched that last night. I watched the video last night, and it's very emotive and it's very good. It's a really, really good sales video. You've got to watch it, Karen. It's just because I'm sucked in watching it. Like but I wasn't sucked into what it was doing. I was sucked into how they were doing it. I wanted to see how they were doing it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is good. But for the person who is not thinking about the ingredients, Kimmy, and looking at the ingredients of both of those two, the nutritional part, and they're going to be sucked into the program, and they're going to buy it, and they're going to want to make money off it. And if money is what they want to do, and we all need money, don't get me wrong, we all need money, and we all have to make money. But why can't we do it ethically? Why can't we do it, sustainably? Why do we have to do it when it's not like that? And why do we? I don't know. Because I feel like I'm just at the moment just in a tangle with my thoughts and my mind. And
you've raised such an important point, because I think that Up for a Chat can be a catalyst for change. With the number of people who download this podcast and the number of people who are following, we can be a catalyst for change, because we are so conditioned by our media. We are so conditioned the way that we see people market. And if we are going to look at others and follow the way that they do things and look at what works and what doesn't work, right now we live in a society where what works is fear, fats and freaks and all of that, That's what we live in a society, but we don't know it. It's all happening behind the scenes. Yeah. It's all happening subliminally. So we go and look at our media, and we look at our public relations, and we look at how we can get a spot on a radio interview or whatever.
Television or, yeah.
Yeah, or even a podcast.
Yeah.
And the first thing we think of is, how can I be controversial? Because that's the only thing that's going to get the journalist's attention. You think about all the training out there around public relations and around writing press releases. It's about having a controversial title. Otherwise, the journalist has to do too much work. Therefore, they'll bin your press release. Or they'll, they won't pay any attention. What if, and I'm just going to throw this out there, but what if, see, now I'm getting a bit creative, but what if we decide that if we're going to do business, we decide to boycott that whole way of building our message and don't actually buy into that, because it's driven by the very thing that we are against. on a day-to-day basis. So let's just not even go there. Let's not say that the only way I'm going to build my business is through interviews on radio and on television and in magazines and in newspapers and all that. Let's not say that. Let's find alternative ways that are congruent with changing the way that the world operates, because if we become part of it, we're perpetuating the same problem where we have a war on friggin' everything.
But to get to the person who is questioning, you have to be in the mass media. Because that's what they're reading.
That's where they're looking.
Is it?
Yes, it is where they're looking, because
unless we provide another alternative for them.
Remember, there are 3 levels of people out there that they know as far as health goes, and health being mentally, physically, emotionally, everything.
Yeah.
So there are 3 levels. There are the people who do everything in their power to keep themselves well. They go to conferences. They listen to what we're saying. They're out there and they know where to look for this. They know. Then there's the second group that is looking for health but don't know where to go, and they're open to suggestion.
Yeah.
And then there's the third group who couldn't care less, and they'll continue to do what they're doing right now, and they won't change in any way.
Yeah.
So they're the group that are in the mass media, but so are the second group.
Right.
They're definitely there because they're looking, but they don't know where to look. They don't know a Kim Morrison. They don't know how to find you. They don't know how to find me. They don't know how to find you, Karen.
But how can we create something then that gives them a place to find us outside of that?
This is part of it, isn't it?
Well, podcasting is part of it. The internet is definitely part of it. Your own, but how are they going to find you to come to that point?
That's right.
And you have to get into the mass media. And the way to get into it, though, is to get to places where people are reading that, you're looking at it and you're going, that's okay to put my information in there, but make sure that's my information.
But I don't know, I'm challenging you on this.
Okay.
I think it's word of mouth. I think the word of mouth is the most powerful medium we could ever use.
It is.
And busy mums don't have time to read the paper or watch television, yet they're still getting messages from people. Now, if the messages from people were powerful and positive, or, oh my gosh, I just went to the seminar where I learned how to speak for the weekend, you're not going to believe it, it's changed my life. Or, oh my God, I was just in Toowoomba and I heard there's a person posting on my Facebook page yesterday about coming to see Dr. Brett Hill with a paleo talk, who heard about it through someone else who had been to your talk in Toowoomba who knew me. Now, you can't tell me that's powerful. And she's driving up here to the Sunshine Coast on Friday night. That, to me, is powerful.
And I think at that level, I think for our listeners, that kind of thing is just like it's absolutely gold.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about moving the hearts and minds of millions of people all at once, then I think then it's a different ball game. But I think for our listeners, you may not be at the point where you're ready to move the hearts and minds of 1 million people. Maybe 10 would be a really good start, or maybe 100 would be a really good start, or 30, or 300, or 3,000, or 30,000.
Gandhi, Mother Teresa, they had no marketing. They had no Facebook pages. They had no medium. They just lived their truth.
Good point, Kimmy. Bloody good point.
So maybe they're people that we should be modelling rather than people who have a higher media profile. I think that's a bit of high five.
I agree. Well done.
Because I think that's, you're the shiz. That's what you are. You're the shizzle. That's what you are. Because I think then it comes down to who do we model when it comes to getting traction with our message. Who are we modelling? Are we modelling traditional media because that's what everybody else is doing and it becomes louder and louder and louder in that room? Or do we model the Nelson Mandelas and the Gandhis and the Martin Luther Kings and model them instead and say, well, I'll do it differently. That's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to research step by step exactly what they did and how they did it.
I just noticed...
And then can we do a podcast on it?
Yeah.
Totes.
I'm just noticing for me, personally, with my business and my strategy, for a start, I wouldn't know what to say in a press release, to be honest with you. I'd have to really think about it because it's just not the way I think controversial like that. When I get heated around something, it's around my children, and I can become quite lioness. But how I think is, to me, I'm just slowly but surely impregnating people in their homes. And I'm not saying I'm great at it, and in fact my bank account balance is the lowest it's ever been right at this moment, only because of all the costs coming up at the moment that I'm up against trying to get the message out there. But I truly believe at the essence and the core of particularly us three, and you two are two of my greatest role models in this, if we live our truth and let our truth be lived through us and our families, then that becomes the ripple effect that impregnates the souls and hearts. Because at the end of the day, when I see a heartwarming story, or I see someone that's just given it their all, that makes me want to do more than what it does to go out. See, I didn't even realise it was my subconscious was being hijacked around Mother's Day, but my subconscious was, I'm not going to walk that. I want to be with my babies, and I want to watch my girl dance, and I'm going to come home and have the night with my kids sitting in front of the TV because Danny's away. And, to me it was, and I did a sparkle the other day, and all these women were just sitting there, and they came up to me. Now, I'm not saying this for any ego or anything at all, but a while ago, she was sitting at a thing and she told someone else that she got more out of hearing me speak for 2 hours than she did the Dalai Lama at Australia Zoo. And I just took that with the most unbelievable... First of all, I got the giggles because it was just such a freaky compliment. But it was so beautiful to first be compared to someone like the Dalai Lama. But secondly, that she actually felt she could relate to me. And I pray as my business grows that I'm still relatable.
And that's a really good point. Because the Dalai Lama doesn't relate to everybody. And you won't relate to everybody, and Karen won't relate to everybody, and I won't relate to everybody. So you said in the beginning, Kim, about competition, that there is enough out there for everybody, because who we relate to are going to be very different to another 3 girls that are doing a podcast on the other side of the world in an ultra universe, So... Number 1 is that there's enough out there for everyone. And number 2, you're right, it's word of mouth and it's who relates to you. You see people come and go off your Facebook pages. You see people come and go off your, your databases and things like that. And I always go, well, what did I say that turned them away? But it could be, it's not what you said. It's just that they couldn't relate to your message. And so they need to find another person out there that can relate. They can relate to their message. So, and I agree, the Dalai Lama, I can't understand him. I really can't understand him. I'd much rather listen to you for 2 hours, Kimmy, than I'd rather listen to you guys, because I can't understand him. And when he does talk, I'm like, what? and even though I know he's a great man, and even though I knew Gandhi was a great man, and Mother Teresa was an amazing woman, and Princess Diana, and all these people who have gone into the hearts and minds and lives of people, I don't relate to them like I relate to somebody who, like you two, like I love all the people I listen to on podcasts now, like Sean Croxton, like the wellness guys. I relate to them so much better, and so we've just got to find our niche of people.
I don't think we understand the power of this podcast. The amount of people that I will share a podcast that I love just because I love it. Or I'll put a post up there, or I'll say to someone, you've got to go to Karen's speaking course. Or if I know when either of you put one thing on your page about 28, my sales go up that day. Just because I know that your people believe in your word to help me. That's ethical money. That's ethical business to me. That's someone believing in someone else's truth and following and being a part of that ripple effect. But you know what? The people that get up and run a Mother's Day Classics, but they're in that mindset of curing cancer is through cut, poison, burn, perhaps. So our way is to infiltrate and to touch those on the verge, those sitting in that category you're talking about, that they'll hear something, but they're sometimes going to hear it 3, 4, 5, 7 times, and probably from different people before they actually want to embrace that. So my key would be, don't ever stop doing your truth, and don't feel like we're competing against that. But I do believe the most important thing of all is that when you market your message to make money from it, I believe, and this is just my own truth, that it has to match. You have to live and breathe and walk and talk what you say.
And I think that's a point that I think is really important to make, is that we're not, and I know that I'm speaking for you guys as well with this, is that we're not actually saying the people who support breast cancer are being fooled.
Exactly.
That's not what this is about. Because the people who are supporting breast cancer are, everybody's doing the best that they can, and if that's your thing, and if that's your passion, and that's what's important, then you must go at it whole souls. I think the point that, well, I don't think, the only point that we've made here is that the people who are at the top may not necessarily have the same agenda as the people who are actually on the ground doing the work and participating in the walks and, doing all of that stuff, because their marketing message is built around fear, or it's around it's they're doing whatever they can to try and drive more revenue. And you know what? On the other side of the coin, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to have more money invested in breast cancer, considering the lives that it's taking? But I also think that it's really important, as you're saying, Cyndi, is that what we're focusing on is the fear, and what we're focusing on is what we don't have. We're focusing on what we're losing. We're focusing on the trauma and the tragedy. Why not put as much energy or equal energy and funding into how do we sustain a healthy lifestyle, and let's put a lot of our marketing into that, so that then we don't have to put so much into the cancer side of things. Possibly that's an option too.
And maybe, from a noble point of view, the fact that a mother breastfeeds their child.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It is the ultimate, fundamental, number one sustainability for life when a child is born. They saw that as an opportunity to link the two.
See, I'd never even thought of that. Never. I guess I was just upset that they'd hijacked Mother's Day. But you're right, and it is. It's a nice link, because that's exactly what a mother does. She nurtures her babies, and she nurtures them through breastfeeding. That's the first thing. That's how they grow. They grow, number one, within their body, but number two, by the fluids that they, and I'm sorry I'm grossing you out here, Karen, but the fluids that they produce in order for that baby to grow in that first 12 months of life. So, yeah.
But your point, I think, so valid. And so perfectly timed and so relevant to what we're talking about, because we've all grown our own businesses, and we've all grown our businesses without sacrificing and prostituting ourselves. And I think that's the key message for everybody who wants to be able to get themselves a following or build a profile or start to help people. And that's what it's about. You become famous or you build a profile because you're helping people, not because of necessarily an ego or because you want to be rich and famous, although that is what drives some people. But I think the people who listen to this podcast, their intention is to make the world a better place because of what they know. And if more people know what they know, the world would be a better place. So I think that what today's conversation has been about is about how to do that in an ethical way, so you don't sacrifice yourself and you don't trade that desire to make the world a better place purely because somebody has a carrot of a dollar sign in front of you. Do you think?
Yeah, it's just the hardest thing, I think, when people are out there absolutely slogging it and giving it their all and still not getting a chance, then maybe that's also a message to say, maybe look at something else,
And on that, I had a conference that I did a couple of months ago where the lady said to me, she said, how do you know when to give up on something? And my answer to that is there's only ever two problems when things are not working. You've either got the right product for the wrong market, or you've got the right market with the wrong product. So for me, my market is women, and it's mindset and speaking, or female entrepreneurs, so it's mindset and speaking. But the mindset and speaking product that I've got is not right. I mean, it's the right product, but the wrong market would be for me to take that to 8-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Or 70-year-old men. Wrong market. It's the right product, wrong market. Or right market, wrong product. So if I was to try to market a product to pregnant women, it's probably the wrong market for me, because I've never been pregnant and I have no idea what goes on inside of a pregnancy. Of course I could research it, but I could never relate to it like you girls could.
But the other thing is that pregnant women are not into being entrepreneurial at that point. They are so into their nesting, so definitely the wrong market.
Yes.
No matter, even if you had been pregnant and had babies, I still think it's the wrong market.
Yeah, so it's either only ever right product, wrong market, or right market, wrong product. But if you build it, they will come. They will come. You just have to make sure that you've got that little recipe right. Right product, right market, right market.
And you see what people sell. Like, I go, who would buy that?
Yeah, and there's a market for it.
There is.
And you started us off on the podcast with that very thing. It's about your niche. It's about really
maybe
knowing your
one
niche.
thing, just to finish up, that I could offer it. One thing I was told to do is to actually give my product a human name, an age, who she is. So 28, her name is actually Charlie Rose.
Oh, okay, so you created what's called an avatar.
She's 31 years of age. She drives a Vito Golf. She loves her health and fitness. She's very much loves food and cooking, but she loves to play, and she loves being out there and touching the lives of others and making people happy.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, and I thought 28 was me. Because I created it. But in fact, who she appeals to and what she's about is the essence of 31-year-old Charlie Rose.
Yeah, I think there's lots of stuff that you can do. If you Google marketing avatar, you learn about how to create that profile of the person that you want to work with. Yeah. So I think this has been, it's been a little controversial. It's been quite thought-provoking. I've certainly had an aha moment, and I know the rest of us have. So go ahead and post your comments on our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/up-for-a-chat, and also right here on allthews.thewellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat. And just let us know what you think. Let us know what you've done in the past. If you do have a message, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, because this is our 3 ideas. What ideas do you have that could then make a difference to other people listening to this podcast? So don't hold back. Share what's worked, share what hasn't, and maybe we can create a bit of a library. And perhaps it would be really cool for us also to create a platform for people to start using as a resource centre, instead of us actually having to model other people in the journalism environment who are, again, and they're not at fault. They're just doing the best that they know how to do and they've learned. So let's create something different. So join us here next week on Up for a Chat and become part of the ripple effect that is changing the world. We're going to see you on the ride.
Hi, Lawrence Tam here from the Wellness Guy Show and the Inside the Champion's Mind. The Wellness Summit returns to Melbourne in 2014 for not only 1, but 2 days of powerhouse wellness with your favorite wellness couch host and Australians' wellness elite. Join us at Crown Melbourne on Saturday, August 16th and Sunday, August 17th for inspirational, educational, fun, exciting, sensational cocktail of wellness that promises to help you take your life to the next level. Regular tickets are $297, but for strictly limited time, we have 150 seats available for just $247. Hurry up, because the first 150 tickets, when we went on sale, sold out in 48 hours. So be quick. Join us at the 2-day live event that will change your life forever. Tickets now are on sale at thewellnesssummit.com. This has been a production of thewellnesscouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on facebook.com/thewellnesscouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.